Alright everybody, a little bit different video today. One of the brands you guys have been really curious about has been Canyon. In particular, the Canyon Grizzle. I've reached out a couple times. They're kind of hard to pin down, but we just happen to be in Carlsbad, which is the home base of Canyon Bikes North America. So I'm going to do a secret review in the parking lot. They have no idea I'm coming or making a video. You can do a demo with their bikes for like half an hour, so that's what we're gonna do because that's all I can do. I think I'm gonna run in, get the bike, bring it back out here, and do a parking lot review. This is the Canyon Grizzle. In terms of where it falls in the Canyon line, it's kind of their adventure-y gravel slash bike packing bike. This one is carbon fiber. You can see it's got the adventure nipples in the front. 2x GRX. Interestingly, they sized me up and they told me that I would fit somewhere between the small and the extra small. So yes, I do have stubby legs. They didn't have any of those sizes, so this is the medium. In road sizing, this would be approximately a 56, so definitely bigger than what would be my true riding size. A couple things to note about this bike right away is the seat post design. Looks cool, will supposedly add some compliance. Did run into a little bit of a problem because of how the split is. Couldn't quite get the seat posts low enough. So if you have weird proportions, short legs as opposed to your torso, then that might be an issue that you will run into as well. Can be solved, of course, by just getting a regular seat post that doesn't have the split design. So what I think I'm gonna do is ride around the parking lot, try to get an impression of the bike. Totally not ideal circumstances, you know, pavement and an off-size bike, but what can you do? So one thing I'm trying to suss out is the front end handling, and to me it doesn't quite dive as nimbly into corners, so this tells me that the bike is a slightly higher trail bike. It's built around the whole concept of a progressive gravel bike, so longer top tube, quote-unquote shorter stem, although in this size it is 80 millimeters, so not quite as short a stem as I've seen in other bikes like this. Approaching that, but still fairly long. Since I usually ride 650B bikes, it definitely feels like riding a bit of a horse. Okay, so definitely leaning on the stable side. Would not consider this bike to have twitchy handling. I think it's probably in the upper 70s or low 80s in terms of trail. Again, didn't look at the geo numbers, just trying to work off a guess here. I'll flash the actual trail on the video. So another thing I'm trying to suss out is chainstay length. Standing up and pedaling, that's usually how I like to, that usually gives me some indication of chainstay length. There's the slightest bit of delay for me, so it's definitely not short. I'd say it's over 430. My guess would be 435, 440. Okay, so I'm gonna say definitely definitely more than 430. The tires are Maxxis Ramblers 700 by 45, and they are pumped way too hard. This is actually one of my pet peeves doing bike tests at bike shops. It does not sell the suppleness of the bike or the frame or the seat post when it's pumped to like super hard roadie pressures. So I'm letting some air out because this thing is like really jarring for what it is. If I didn't know anything about bikes and test rode this, judging from the tire pressure, this would not be a bike that I'd want to take off road. All right, there we go. A little bit more give there. So it definitely has a slower turning feeling than a road bike. Feels way more comfortable letting the air out. Okay, so let's talk tire clearance, size 56. Looks like it ships with 700 by 45s. A fair amount of room for fatter meats here in the front fork. In terms of the rear, it looks like you could go a little bit bigger. This is definitely kind of the pinch point here. I'd say you could go 50, maybe a little bit wider in 650B. No rack mounts in the rear, so a little bit stripped of utility, although they have 3 pack mounts in the front. Definitely designed with fast bike packing in mind. If I were to pick a bike that probably rides similar, I'd probably say Salsa Cutthroat. It's not quite as slack feeling. It doesn't have the tire clearance as the new Tumbleweed Stargazer, but I think it's a bike that would serve someone well for gravel road bike packing. The front end has that sense of stability where, although I didn't take it off-road, I'm kind of speculating here in the parking lot. Having ridden other bikes that feel like this, I think it would be definitely a stable descender. I found that it took a little bit more body English to initiate the bike into a turn. In the rear, it definitely feels more like a touring bike length chainstay. I'd be surprised if it were 430 or shorter. There are some hidden eyelets here. I think this is just for fenders. Hey there everybody, I'm back at our Airbnb editing the footage, and I've had a little bit more time to kind of process my experience with the Grizzle. I'm stoked that I was pretty bang on in terms of guessing the chainstay length. The front end threw me off a little. You know, I'm used to riding 650B, so whenever I'm on a 700C 29er bike, it feels like it takes that much more energy to turn the wheel. But still not too far off. It is higher trail than an endurance road bike. Not as high trail as drop bar mountain bikes. So it's really kind of threading a needle here. I wish I could have taken it up a hill. I think that would have given me a sense of how much wheel flop it gets with that wheel size and that trail. And of course, descending on chonky stuff. Interestingly, the size medium has a head tube angle of 72.5 or 72.25. If you look at the smaller size bikes, the bikes that I would probably be riding, the head tube angle is actually a lot slacker at 71 and even 70 degrees. So I think that would exacerbate kind of that higher trail sensation. One thing I did notice is the stack to reach ratio is fairly high. So for me, I expect a bike packing bike to be a little bit more relaxed in that regard, unless you're flat out bike packing racing. This bike has a slant towards the racing side. I wish the stack were a little bit taller, a little bit easier to get the bars level. If that's a bike you want, it's probably not for you. Tire clearance is okay, but it's not keeping up to speed with the current trend of 700 by 50s. That'd be a bit of a squeeze, so it would have been nice if it had more clearance. I think in the spectrum of gravel bikes, it's playing it kind of safe still. It's not pushing the edge. It's not a Chamois Hagar. It's not a Stargazer. It's kind of like a gravel race bike plus with some aspirations for off-road touring, if that makes sense. So that's my best shot at a review given my limited time and circumstances with the bike. I know some of you guys have been asking about my thoughts with the Grizzle, and I don't like to comment on bikes that I don't get a chance to throw a leg over. If you like this content, don't forget to support the channel. We are unsponsored. There are no bike brands that are paying us. We're not part of a team. We're largely viewer supported via Patreon, via merch sales, sticker sales, and it's because of that we can do videos like this. So if you like that, consider supporting the channel. All the links below. As always, keep the supple side down.